parent choice. Next slide. There is nothing but good news in education in our country, and we need to join the party. All across the country, schools are doing a number of things. They're doing education alternatives like P-Tech and hooking up with colleges and things like that. They're also promoting public charter schools, which are tax-funded schools, just like traditional schools, but they're started by parents and entrepreneurs and teachers and nonprofits, sometimes even for-profits, and they have fewer restrictions and fewer mandates that the schools do, that the traditional schools do, and it lets them do some other things. The second thing that's sweeping the country is school choice. School choice is where a parent can send their kids to whatever school they want. They're not consigned to a zip code or a school district or a cluster. And these things are supported, and they extend outside of that. They even extend to parochial schools or private schools and sometimes home schools. And they're supported by vouchers, and they're supported by tax credits that are given to companies and people who donate to scholarship programs. We now have a $5 million one that was started this year, and the Assembly didn't want it, but Delegate Hayes from Baltimore City says, I got to do something for the kids in my district, and it got through barely. That's $5 million. Illinois is $75 million. Maryland is ranked 47th by the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools. That's 2016. It's actually ranked last. When they did this, 3 states didn't even have any public charter schools, and so they couldn't be ranked. I think only Vermont is left. So we were ranked less because we're allowing public charter schools, but they have all the same restrictions. They get 69 cents on the dollar. They have to get their own transportation figured out. They get no money for building the school, so they find warehouses and they fill it up. I'll talk about some of those schools in a little while. There are some in Maryland. So we're doing very badly there. The states that are going into education reform have the top high schools, the fastest growing NAEP scores. Remember those scores? They're just doing the best in every way. Here are the top 20 high schools according to the Washington Post. They're from Arizona, Illinois, Arizona, Texas, California, Texas, Florida, Texas, Florida, D.C., Alabama, Texas, Florida, Texas. Well over 50%, probably over 75% of the top 50 schools in both Washington Post and USA and U.S. News are in a handful of states. Almost none of these schools existed a short time ago, and they are dominated by magnet schools and charter schools. I want to talk about a couple more things and then I'll be finished. This is a map of East Harlem. There's a chain of 46 schools called Success Academy. They have 15,500 students, of which 85% are minority. Their math proficiency is 95%. It's not a magnet school. It's not in anything. It's just a school in the poorest areas of New York City. Schools, not school, 46 of them. 84% English proficiency. 24% is what the average is in New York City. And 29 for those same two numbers. I want you to think about this number. Think about the Matsunaga numbers. Think about the Watkins-Mills numbers. Think about the low 30s, which is our average for our 5 lowest performing schools. The number of meeting standards are 2 times the average in the area where they are, and they come into the school so unprepared that they go 2 grades a year in the beginning. They just jump 2 grades according to proficiency because of how good they're doing. Thousands of children are saved. Funny, I had a friend that I met in a restaurant, and we start talking. How's your daughter doing? And she goes, oh, really well. She's a teacher in the Bronx, and she's so excited. She's so excited about her job. She can't wait, but she's so nervous. She's in her first year, and they could let her go, and she wants to do good because she can't wait to do it. And I go, how's she doing at Success Academy? And the mother goes, I didn't tell you she works at Success Academy. I go, she does, doesn't she? She does. Next slide. That slide. That's Chesapeake Science Point Academy. Oh, go back one. Or forward one, wherever that thing was. Back one. That's Chesapeake Science Point Academy. It's in Hanover, Maryland. 78% majority minority. Their part score for English 10, I think that's 2 years ago, I took a picture of this, or a year and a half ago, 92%. That compares to 46% for the nation, 44% for Maryland, and 40% was the first year apart. That was the first year apart. So you can see what that public charter school is doing for kids in Hanover, Maryland. They now have other schools that are growing around the country. Can we go back? Oh, very quickly. I'm going to just try to run through some states. Arizona, I'm going to start with. They now have the first universal school choice program. If you're home, what they do is they, in essence, give your money back for taxes for education that come to them. And if you're very wealthy, you get less of your money back than if you're poor. But if you're poor, you can get up to $15,600. You could do it for anything, to go to a private school, to defray tuition costs to private school, to a public charter school, to whatever you want to do. You could use it to buy books if you're homeschooling your kid. And you've seen what Arizona's done. A small state with 9 of the top 50 schools, 7 of the top 25 high schools. That's now being done in more and more states. They're all joining the party now. One after the other. On and on and on this happened. I'm not going to go through it in all the states. I don't want to take so much time because I want to start getting out of all this. But education alternatives promise great outcomes, closing the achievement gap, true diversity of approaches, school choice for parents. It raises at traditional schools. In other words, they keep doing studies, and wherever these public charter schools are happening, the traditional schools start doing better because competition is good for the soul. In DC, more than 50% of the kids now go to charter schools. They are the #1 fastest improving urban center and the #1 school districts in the country under NAEP. Real equity and integration. What could be, when we talk about equity, again, I'm not sure what they mean when they talk about equity, but it's something about equal. What could be less equal than you live in that zip code, you go to the bad school. You live in that zip code, you go to the good school. Doesn't sound very equitable. We ran out of magnet school desks, so we can't have you even though your kid passed the test. Sorry, we have a quota system. You're not the right kind of person we need, so we're not going to include you. So it ends the need of quotas and provides real equity. Individual preferences, happy teachers, happy parents. And it saves money. We'll get into that now. I'm going to stop because I've taken maybe too much time, but I'm really interested in hearing from you guys.